This is a quick for Senmomo. It's from August that did a kind of popular anime back in the day, but more importantly is the one that handled Eustia, something I regard rather highly. It's not in my top 10, but it'll be part of my thoughts when I feel, hey, this was a great VN. This really isn't the case for Senmomo. It'd be in the section where it's like, oh man, the last arc was great type of VN, right? It's not like the whole thing was good. Not to say everything else is shit, but far from it, right? It's just nowhere near as entertaining to read compared to Eustia. Part of that is due to the world setting, but I also just find Kai more interesting as well. Sojin is kind of like that old school warrior type that has like a personality of a wet paper bag, and you can't even fault him for that because it's understandable, boring, but it makes sense for the plot. And they just further hammered that down, why he's like this halfway through, where it'd just be weird if he didn't behave the way that he does, but still it's like, I am bored. The plot is basically you have this country that was in the era of peace for like 2,000 years, but now shit hit the fan and your country lost in like no time flat. There was this barrier that would keep enemies away, but that blew up and everybody was getting bombed. It's supposed to be tragic, but it's kind of funny. It's like, oh shit, everything just went to hell. But this is from Akari's POV. She's the princess and the heir to the throne and the main lead outside of Sojin. Akari's a lot better lead than Eustia at like the cost of like intrigue. So in terms of character interactions, I like Akari a lot better, but Eustia works better for the plot. And that's mainly because Sojin takes Eustia's place in this one anyway, so like alright, it makes sense. Akari was fangirling when Sojin was wiping everybody out in his way, but shit hit the fan again and he made Akari run while he takes care of the rest. And that's where the prologue stops for the most part. He lost his memory, works with the remaining warriors to try and get their country back. So it's all about Sojin meeting Akari during the whole like I don't have my memory shtick. Meet the new characters, get some reveals, get his memory back, fight the big bad. And it's like, alright, it makes sense. The main thing is the plot's pacing is pretty inconsistent. There's times where it just feels like the budget is being consumed and shit is fun and either action-packed going somewhere or at least it's interesting. But anytime it's more of like a slice of life scene, things just crawl. I'd say the worst arc is probably the school one and it's technically necessary for the plot, but anytime they're back at the school I'm like, holy shit, can't I just take a nap? This is boring. A good chunk of the plot points on the first half are pretty much like no shit moments. It's like when your kid or I guess your younger relative is trying to pull a fast one on you and you're like, do you think I'm retarded or something? And it's kind of the same here where I don't know how these characters somehow think they're getting away with it. It's like, you're not. This is bullshit. Basically the plot starts picking up speed after the school arc and that just leads to the second half and that part is great. I think the main villain is better than what we had in Eustia, but at the same time I guess I can say that the theme itself surrounding the two was better in Eustia than in Senmomo. Basically the side guy and the main guy were swapped between these two titles, so Senmomo's like, hey, what if Rugalo was the main antagonist this time around? So like Eustia, Senmomo has an ongoing theme. They don't break your face like in Eustia, it's not super repetitive, but it still gets talked every so often. So instead of Eustace like, oh, what's your purpose in life? What should you be doing? And then what do you want to do instead? Is it the right thing to do? And will you keep on going if it's not? It's like, Senmomo is more of, what do you set your fealty towards? The fidelity, I guess, probably the more current word for it, but instead of being stubborn real and staying by your convictions, it's about constantly getting put into positions where you should test your fealty and still committing to it. It's like, oh yeah, this conflicted, I'm still going for it. They're basically desperate to show their ideals and charging in at whatever opportunities provided to just show like to the person or sometimes the group like, hey, I'm still in this, we're good, right? Hell, a specific character adopts their mentality and just places themselves and their sense of justice as their lords. Like, nah, I control myself, fuck you guys. It's mainly for the warriors at first, but all of them have like some kind of derivative of it. But the warriors are like, yeah, I'm there to fight and I might end up dying, but I did it on my own terms and my own beliefs and fuck you guys. Senmomo does have ladder structure issue that Eustia has where you could barely call it one and you basically get like 20 minutes before the route is done. Everything else is pretty much contained on the mainline plot. Well, it's either that or what you get in that route will also show up in the mainline path, so you can't really even call it, hey, this is part of the branch plot. I was like, no, it's not. It's part of the mainline one. You just get it too. With the first one, I thought it was pretty cool, but the sequence is basically the exact same, but in one they get together and the other they don't. Like, there was a side character that was spared on a side branch that really felt like they would get killed off in the mainline branch because of the differences on how the scene was getting transitioned, right? Only to also survive, and it felt like, is this a meta joke and the author just laughing or something? Because like, it really felt like one. The funny thing is some of them have like combined arcs, and if you don't go into one route, you can go to a different route and like 10 minutes later it's like, holy shit. Technically that's just the egregious one. The other one has some more time between it, but nowhere near what you'd call like an extra arc. It's like, alright, you got maybe 30 more minutes, right? I checked around to see if there was character songs like they did with Eustia, but it looks like it's not the case. I think there was a different version of like the OPs, and that's about it. The funny thing is, there's like 2 opening videos, and one at the beginning and one after the first common arc. But the first one was way more catchy. The ending song's also fine, but just annoying that I couldn't like skip through it because they're like considered new, because it's one of those like, oh, it's a film reel and of different CGs of that character, so it's considered a different ending. It's like, holy shit, now I think there's a way to like stop it in the options, but I only knew that like right by the end, and only like one ending or something. I guess the last thing is the branch endings aren't all that illogical this time around. In Eustia, most of those endings couldn't have happened when you get like into future context crap. You can still argue if X ending here would actually work, but you can still argue against it as well. It's like, hey, this is pretty good compared to Eustia ones. The Eustia was like, you would have been dead. Everybody's been dead. What the fuck is this shit? No, you don't get a happy ending. You'd be dead. This is the third title from them where the character I thought I would have liked the most is actually near the bottom in terms of plot for me. They were never going to be at the top, but they're usually like at the fucking bottom. Hotori is kind of a hard ass. She gets a lot of cool scenes here and there, but she could have had a lot more screen time, especially near the end. It's like, where did you go? Like, she's still there and she's helpful, but she's more of a strong background character. There's a side character I won't name because of spoiler shit, but he basically had the same amount of contributions. Like, oh, how did you go so down? Holy crap. She has a thing for Sojin from the start, and she gets like conflicted by that or like managed around that for most of her scenes. She's like Ares version 2, the clinky one from Eustia. And that was the one I thought was like, oh, I'm gonna like that character. It's like, this plot is ass. And this one's like, this plot's actually not as bad. But at the same time, it's like, we could cut this part out. Elsa is probably like a divisive character where either you think like, oh, she's the best, or you can't stand her ass. She's part of the Republic, the country that's constantly in war getting more land. She wants to strip the Empress monarchy shtick and instead of like this democracy thing where everybody gets a say. But she's always getting pushed to the side by her dad, who's like one of the most boring villains I've seen in a while because the dude is just a corrupt politician. And he's given nothing else. He's the Governor General and probably the most boring character in this title. Anyway, yeah, she's at odds with the Warriors until the school arc. The feud didn't really end, but they have like a shared enemy at this point. So she talks to Sojin for a while, and she's like enamored by the way he talks about his fealty to the point that she ends up adopting that way of thinking. Just not for the same beliefs, and Sojin's completely okay with it. Like, he's boring, but he's a chill guy. It's one of those things where he's like, yeah, that's my enemy over there, but he's fighting for his own beliefs and his own family, and I can respect that. It's like, hey, if the war ends and we both don't die, we can have a drink over there. Kotone is probably like the popular one. She's kind of the comedic character of the group that's also like the head priestess. Technically shouldn't be helping Sojin and the gang, but she does. Probably also the most important character to make the plot work. Technically there's a few higher, but she sets it up. Outside of Akari and maybe someone from the side cast, I'd probably like her the most, but at the same time she had a lot more screen time to work with, I guess. There's Kanami, that's like the fake empress. She has things going for her, but honestly she's not really utilized well and just stays at like the Brocon archetype and that's it. She's more of a plot pusher. If shit is going down, then they just bring her out and move all these other characters into place. The funny thing is she was raised in the warrior household and has like the same fealty mindset, but instead of like the normal targets like the Empress or whatever, her fealty is solely to her brother. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna make this place prosperous again because that's what my bro wants. Oh, you're going to put my bro in prison? Well, fuck you. Your plans and this whole land, everything's gonna die. It's like, damn dude, relax. I didn't find Inui, Sojin's boss, all that interesting. Like at the start I thought that might have been like Sieg's counterpart, but it's not. Fortunately, he also wasn't playing another role that would have been like pretty boring plot-wise. Basically, Inui's fine, it's more of like a background character and that's it. I guess you can say the Sieg counterpart is closer like something like Maki. Maki is voiced by the same guy that does Kazuma Kiryu. It's just the one-to-one thing, it's like it's the same thing. Maki is great, but he doesn't have a lot of screen time either, because it sucks. The H scenes are fucking long and there's a decent amount of them. I'd have to check, but I think there's 24, but they're so long that it feels like it's doubling the scenes. Like if I place the H scenes for Kanami or Elsa and their respective arcs, I think the H scenes will end up being longer. It's like, holy shit. 3 of them are for like side characters and they actually end up giving them a little bit more plot than what the Eustia ones gave. The one with Mitsumi felt pretty forced to me, but that's probably because I thought they were hinting at a different love interest for her that just wasn't important to the plot. It's okay, it's there, but we're not going to talk about it, right? But then they just like never brought it back up ever, and now this scene happens like, oh, I guess it doesn't matter at all. It never happens. Some of the Elsa ones were pretty funny, and I like the Shino one. I gave up after a while, it got really boring, and I just skimmed everything for the last like 7 or so scenes. Overall, I'm giving it a 7. I can see people giving it like a 9 if the finale is like the most important part to the title for them, right? Like I'd raise it to an 8 if I was talking about like, oh, just specifically about impact. There's a lot of FMVs or whatever they're called. It's nowhere near the level of what Tokyo Necro gives, but it's still giving that kind of energy. It's like, holy shit, this is great. The world is set up fine. Some parts are kind of silly, like the one-sided nature of just like the Republic officers killing the Imperials for just squabbles. That part isn't all that logical if it wasn't that, like, hey, the Republic was using all these people on this nation as pay pigs to further their lobbying and these extra wars. Yeah, reducing the potential amount of money you can get and raising the chance of rebelling is super smart, guys. Like, yeah, they would win and the Imperial people would lose. It'll just make it that there's even less taxes they can get from. So it was like, oh yeah, brilliant. The power system is handled really well, where most of anything's worthwhile has a cost to it. It even gets expanded later on in the second half to fill up like all the little plot holes. And there's like, wait, you can do all these things and all you do is get tired? That's kind of easy. It's like, no, a lot of things, there's a lot of rules to it. The second half of the title is way better. If the quality was that same consistency of the second half, I'd probably put this whole thing as a 9. I guess the best way to say it is that, hey, the first half has its moments, but then it crashes back down and just bores me to tears. It's like if that small slice of life section of Tokyo Necro was like 4 times longer. It's like, holy shit. Like some people love that. I do not. If it was something like, hey, let's short all this down. Half these characters do not exist or have like less importance. So it's one of those things where like, hey, all the Ikari sections, let's have them stay over there. Let's shorten the first half to like a quarter at most. Hey, all these little interactions with these characters that don't really matter yet, remove them. It's fine. And Kari is the important one, let's go with that. And then this would be a 9, because like, hey, that'd be great. And that's about it for this time around. There's no spoilers. I don't really want to talk about it all that much. I'm reading Mamiya again, or I guess when I read it, there's only the first half, and now the second half came out like years ago, and I kept having more and more updates. And now at this point, it's like, hey, the Switch version's coming out, and the Switch version has voices or voice actors. Like, all right, I'm gonna wait for that one. And now it finally came out, and now that's what I'm reading, and it's great. It's probably my favorite of the year so far. It's been pretty cool.